Hello and welcome to Vitality Women Leading Audaciously. Today, I am so excited for a conversation with Lise Wouters. She's coming here to us with us all the way from the Netherlands. And she's an organizational psychologist and a coach and an author and a mother and so many things. Her work is exciting and it really resonates with me deeply. And I just want to welcome you so warmly to the show. Welcome, Lise.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be in your show. Thank you.
Vitality. It's the essence of health. It's that which shines through. And we all know that it's way more than health. And I really am curious about your journey into what are the components that throughout your life led you to this work that you're doing today?
How much time do we have?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Whatever comes to you is going to be perfect.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things before I was a psychologist, I was working as a commercial manager, and I was leading a team myself, around 11 people, and I was really trying to be a good leader for them. And as I was trying to be there for them, I overlooked myself and ended up in a severe burnout, which took me at least 2 years to really recover from. And I think that had a really big impact also on all the work that I did afterwards, on the research that I've done, the book that I've written, just to help people take better care of themselves so they can be there also for others.
Yeah, and that's the essence of my belief system for how I live my life. And I, like you, came to a close to burnout. And at that point, we're no good to anyone, including ourselves.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But was there, so it sounds like there were a series of events that occurred in your career, but you chose this career. Like there was something about it that drew you to it. Was it because you have like an innate ability to help other people or an interest in human behavior? Or what was it that drew you to
Yeah, when I was a commercial manager, at a certain point, I had a conversation with somebody who asked me of my next step in my career, and I suddenly realized that I didn't want to move up in the organization anymore, because the more you move up, the less you're actually dealing with the people working every day. And I thought about, but then what do I want to do? And as I was thinking, all the things that I've done in my life at that point, the things that I enjoyed, the one thing that they had in common with each other, with everything had in common, was people. I just loved working with people and helping people and guiding people. And so I decided to take a small course in psychology, just a 3-month course, and I loved it so much that I quit my job, went back to university, and became organizational psychologist. So yeah, and as you say, it is of course a series of events, and I realized also during that time that every person is unique. And I think it's so important. Of course, we are all human beings. We all have we have 99 point something percent DNA in common. So a lot of mechanisms work in the same way, but at the same time, we're also unique, and what we want and need is different. We have to find out for ourselves.
Yeah, it's true. I love that you say that because there isn't like a one size fits all methodology per se. Some of the work that you were familiar with, talks about our innate sense of needing, of course, air and water and sleep and food, and also our sense of belonging. But then there's just so many nuances inside of, how that comes to be for each individual person, which is, I'm sure, a big preoccupation of yours as well. So you've written 2 books, right?
Yeah.
One that's in Dutch and the other that is in English. I'm very excited to learn more about these books, why you wrote them, especially the most recent one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. In fact, the most recent one is a result of the first one. I never thought I would write a book until somebody asked me to write together. So, but after my first book, I realized that there was also one that I wanted to write, something that I wanted to bring. And I've realized over the years, also from my own experience as a manager, but also working with, I train and coach a lot of leaders in companies. And I've realized that I haven't met one leader who didn't want to be a good leader, who didn't want to be good for the people that are in their team. And so the intention is there, and they're really working hard at it. And sometimes it just really goes well, and people feel happy and they feel energized. And sometimes for some reason they can't find a way to lead people in a way that they're happy and performing well. So I realized that I really want to help these leaders be that leader that they want to be. And through my research, I found that a big fundamental cause of people being able to be there for them or not is how safe they feel with themselves and with the people around them. So I did a lot of research into psychological safety over the years, and found this is really a foundation of people's well-being, people's functioning.
It's really interesting to talk about psychological safety. It's not something that's trending like vulnerability or authenticity or any of these words. Psychological safety is a really, really deep subject. And we were talking before the interview about how now more than ever psychological safety has come into question in a huge way. There's this phrase that I heard recently that I love, and this woman said, "Don't forsake yourself when you need yourself the most." And I don't know if you agree, but I feel like every relationship in our lives is a reflection of our relationship with ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was younger, I was raised Catholic, and I heard a lot of times you have to love yourself before you can love others. And actually, when I was young, I thought that's nonsense. I can love other people without loving myself. But I realized over the years and through my research that it's really true. In order to take care of other people, you really need to start with yourself. And I love how much research there already is into why this is so important and why it's the only way to be there for other people is to first be there for yourself, to create this space for yourself where you are functioning well, you are doing well. And then automatically you start also taking care of other people. I published an article recently in a scientific magazine from my research where we show that taking care of our own basic psychological needs is necessary in order to feel empathy for other people. And it just shows you need to take care of yourself first.
Yeah, and I'm really present to you some of the challenges that people have who are codependent, who then care for others as a coping mechanism of avoiding themselves.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an interesting, nuance or twist inside of this equation. And also this trend that we're finding where we have this individualism as a collective, like, globally, we have this sense, this lean towards individualism. And yet we're still meant to be in community and we still need each other. And so I just was wondering if you had anything you could add on those two arms of the topic around, being okay or with yourself and dealing with your own psychological state.
I think it's very interesting, individualism, because from my research and from my experience, when we really take care of ourselves, when we are really individualistic, when we put our own needs first, then the science shows and my experience shows that we automatically open up to other people and that we automatically care. So I'm very interested. I think it's really interesting to think about, is it really individualism, or are we trying to keep an image for others? Are we more thinking, what do I need to be for other people? And for me, it's not really individualism, because if it's individualism, then I wouldn't care so much about what other people think, then it's just about me. And
so it's almost like it's impossible to be a human and to be completely individualistic. It's like it's not our nature, it's kind of what I'm hearing you say, even though that's not what you're saying. That's what I'm hearing, at least.
Yeah. And I'm sure that if we would stop caring so much about what other people think, but be more close to ourselves and be the person that we want to be, that we want to see in the mirror, then we automatically start taking care of other people and start connecting to other people. But I mean, connecting to yourself means automatically starting to connect also with other people.
For sure. I mean, gosh, if I don't have time for myself when I'm serving my children or, serving my partner or serving my clients, like, I'm a completely different person than if I take the time for myself. I just know that about me. But I have to say that my client, I coach a lot of doctors who are really high level, and they don't have any time, right? And this lack of time that they have for themselves is really what causes them to sabotage. It's something I've noticed. It's yeah, maybe it's about commitment, but I at the end of the day, I really feel that it's about not having enough time to just collect their energy, just to tune in, just to kind of sort out the thoughts and the feelings that are in the space.
Yeah, and I wonder though if it's really just about time or about wanting to make the time, because if I want to, I mean, even in this conversation, if I want to check in with myself, how I am doing, how am I feeling at this moment, I can do this as we are talking with each other. And I have some doctors also in my practice, and I think it's fascinating that sometimes when I'm in a conversation with a doctor who's like a physical doctor, and I ask at that moment what was happening in your body, and they're like, what does my body have to do with it?
Oh, your body is the truth teller. Your mind will lie to you all day long, but not your body. That's my experience, at least.
Yeah, and it's the easiest way to connect to yourself, to really feel what is happening in my body at this moment.
I completely agree. I tend to hold a lot in my jaw and in my shoulders, and then sometimes also my stomach, right? Those are my like 3 areas that I cannot go, oh.
Yeah, and my body sometimes tells me quicker what my emotion is than I can even think about it. I don't even realize, for example, I'm nervous about something until I feel actually my stomach, that I think, oh, I didn't realize I was nervous. I wasn't thinking about it yet. So my body gives the signals even before I can think that something is happening.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's faster. It's so interesting. I had no idea that you were into the somatic intelligence, because for me, I've studied tens of thousands of hours of intellectual methodologies, coaching methodologies, and so on and so forth. But my body is the quickest way for me to move through any emotion. It just reminds me, like, it's energy in motion. That's what emotions are to me at this point.
Exactly. And there is this research also that has been done in. There's part of the results are in my book, in the second book. It is a study in Finland where they show which emotions where they happen in your body. So where the energy flows to when you're angry, for example, or when you're happy, or when you're sad. But there are parts in your body where more energy goes to, and other parts where less energy goes to. And I think it's always fascinating when people say, yeah, you need to leave your emotions at home or something. If you see this study, then you know it's impossible. Your body is I mean, there's so much going on when you feel these emotions that you can't ignore them.
But you can't. And if you do, it becomes a disease. And psychoneuroimmunology, the field of science, really validates that, as does a study that sounds like you're speaking about. I'm really interested in hearing that. I know about traditional Chinese medicine, talking about, certain emotions in the kidney or the liver, but this sounds a little more comprehensive. Well, I don't know that anything's more comprehensive than Chinese medicine, but I'm really curious about this study. I'm very interested in this. I like you. I feel like it's a faster way to go and to get to the root of things. I'm always interested in the root, because if we can resolve the root, then everything else aligns and comes into harmony. I find I have clients, including myself, not just my clients, but who are really not kind to themselves. That we have this inner dialogue that is quite harsh. We actually wouldn't speak that way to most people. Yet we talk this way to ourselves. Have you come across that in your work as well, in terms of talking about the psychological safety?
Absolutely. And, the way to create psychological safety starts with self-compassion. Whenever our basic psychological needs are being threatened, it's in order to empathy is one of the basic elements of psychological safety. But in order to feel empathy, you need self-compassion. You need to first take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Whenever you feel frustrated or stressed or angry, or for whatever reason you feel upset, being kind to yourself is really the doorway to then also feel for somebody else. So it's the basic, and you know this. I mean, there is this link. What we're talking about, what's happening in your body, and being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
It's the quickest way also for leaders in companies. When you lead people, in order to lead them well, you need to be aware of what's happening when your psychological needs are being threatened. What happens in your body at this moment, and be kind to yourself, and say it's okay that I feel frustrated, and I can say you're good enough. And
I love that. I find that leaders oftentimes resist this, even though they know intuitively this is the right thing to do, right? Because it's kind. But at the same rate, they exceed and succeed and excel based on the context of this isn't good enough. I'm not good enough. It's not good enough. And so without that context and the identification with that context, what friction do they have to move forward with? And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that, because I've noticed that people will intellectually agree, they'll work to practice it, and then they don't know how to actually propel themselves forward in a meaningful way because the friction has changed.
yeah, it's interesting. The interesting is, if we did it yesterday, it doesn't mean that it's going to help today. We need to do it every single day, in every single occasion again. We can't say, okay, I was already kind to myself yesterday, so I don't have to be kind to myself today because I already did it. But if for every new situation, we need to do this again. And yeah, you're right. I mean, we also live in a world where we still have this bar of being successful, of being harsh on ourselves is tough. You're a good leader when you are really hard on yourself and you push yourself beyond the normal boundaries. And in the meantime, science has shown many times before that you can function better, you can be more successful when you are kind to yourself. But there's still some little voice in us that says, no, if we push ourselves harder, then we can be more successful. And we can be very successful when we are hard on ourselves, except then it drains us and we run out of energy.
Totally. And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And everyone loses in that equation, long term.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the prevention model. But one of the things about your work that I love the most, can you show us the book? I want to see the cover. For those of you who can't see right now, she's grabbing her most recent book called Lead Your Team Toward a Better World. And so I love how you're talking not only about leadership, but you're talking about the ripple effect of leadership, because leadership inside of organizations touches many, many people's lives, right? Hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, ultimately. So, I mean, I'm really interested in purpose, right? My company is called Purposeful Ventures. Every conversation has to, be about purpose and meaning, in my life, right? So I really, really resonate with the intention around your book. Where can people find your book, read it, buy it, and interact with you?
Well, the book you can find on Amazon.com. You can order it there, and you can find me also on LinkedIn. And I have also a video channel on YouTube, so you can find videos there. Also on psychological safety, also on the self-support system. How do you support yourself in order to be there for others? So feel free to look it up.
Yeah, we'll include those links in the show notes. And what is like your URL though, just for those people who may be driving right now or who are listening on the subway and can't really pull out their phones?
And that's in Dutch, so I think it's going to be difficult if you can try to to pull it up. But you can find me, Lies Wouters, on LinkedIn, and you can find my company name is OMG So that's quite easy to remember, I think.
Right? That's what I wanted you to say. It's so cute. OMG.
It's actually abbreviation for a Dutch sentence saying op maat gemaakt, which means tailor-made. But yeah, it's people often say, "Yeah, I thought of you because I heard somewhere OMG," and then so yeah.
Well, for those of you who can't see her, she has a very beautiful, beautiful, bright smile, and you can tell that
Thank you.
she has vitality. And in this case, your vitality, I'm sure, is cultivated from the inside out based on the things that we're talking about. She's also a mother, a wife, and an entrepreneur. And how do you cultivate your vitality, Lise? What are your practices?
I start my every morning with meditation. And at the end of my meditation, I have a prayer that I have written myself, that with the words that I need to hear for myself and with words that I want to bring in the world. So I always finish my meditation with, may all people in the world feel safe, and may all people in the world feel they are good enough as they are, and may all people in the world feel that they are loved. So this is how I start every morning. And then I have a small yoga session just to also waken up my body. And throughout the day, I try to make sure that I get breaks in between, that I go in nature. I love nature, just walking between trees and fields. And I live in the north of the Netherlands. It's beautiful here. I live only 6 kilometers from the North Sea. So very beautiful nature here. So yeah, that's what I do. And I have to say, I mean, life is not always easy. I mean, there are days, if also with my practice, that I have difficult days, and I'm convinced that it's not about making sure that you never have those days anymore. It's about supporting yourself and being kind to yourself, and so you go through those days also with love and kindness.
It's such a great message. I really felt your prayer. It like as a ripple effect, going through me, because it's so powerful, especially in this time with our children in the schools, and especially in the United States with guns. And there's never been a time that I can think of that our generation has felt so unsafe, whether it be politically, their economic future, or their physical safety, whether it be from a virus or even weapons. So it's really a time we don't talk about it enough. But psychological safety is important first and foremost, from ourselves to ourselves.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really, really beautiful. Thank you for your work. And thank you for sharing your practice with us. I think
And thank you so much for having me on your show. It was really nice to be invited.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I think a lot of women who are listening, a lot of people who are listening, are really looking for answers to the kinds of anxieties that they're feeling. And in this day and age, we're finding a lot of solutions to anxiety, to breathe, to take medication, to do meditation. But I think that your approach of really addressing psychological safety, really head on, like this is that's really, it's easy to hold on to, and it normalizes a kind of condition, I think, that we're all in on some level.
Yeah. And I think it's important that I mean, there's already many people out there like you and like many other people who already are there. I've realized that we need to help each other. We need to connect to ourselves so we can also connect to others. So there's a sort of a revolution going on already. I'm sure there is, and I hope that many more people start feeling more safe with themselves first, and therefore then are able to create this safer world together.
Yeah, I hold that vision that we can create a safer world together. Yeah, and it all starts, right here in our hearts, right, in our minds.
Absolutely.
Oh, Elise, thank you so much for being with us today. I hope that everybody listening will check out her book on Amazon. I can't remember the title in full. Can you
lead your team toward a better world?
Thank you, Lee. If everyone could lead their teams towards a better world, what a better world our world would be. So I stand behind that 1,000%. Well, thank you so much again, and be well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.